fourth virtual MITA Town Hall Educational Series events where members of the community can get together and chat. And while they chat, you get introduced to them, you learn about their profession, their companies, and a little bit about what's going on in the Arizona industry. So it's MITA's honor to host you. We're doing what we can while COVID is around. Hopefully we'll be coming back to in-person events probably sometime in August. But this is a great idea. It's Danielle Sedgwick, who's been in the industry for 5 years, also part of MITA. She came up with the concept of highlighting women this summer. So we're doing 2 or maybe 3 of these because we have so many people that were recommended. And it really surprised me and it amazed me how many incredible females there are that are working at different levels in the Arizona industry. So it's my great honor and to be able to present all of you to the general public. I feel like a father. I'm definitely Peggy's father. I think that's for sure. And I get to present a bunch of daughters. This is kind of cool. Yeah. So let me give it.
Super happy to be here among all these women and sitting next to Dimitri and helping with this event today. So again, I'm super honored. Let's roll. I'm ready.
Yeah. So let's roll. A couple housekeeping notes. On July 9th, we're doing a special to review all the details and changes about the new testing laws in the state of Arizona. That's going to interest a lot of people. Please join us July 9th, 4 to around 6 p.m. And then I'd also like to thank the MITA team and Destiny Nicole Blanco. She's back behind the Eco Pride or the Smart and Safe banners. She's the administrator for this Zoom, and she's been it's amazing what she does. As with everything she does an amazing job. So we are becoming Zoom masters here at MITA, which is great for the public because we can present this kind of information. So with that, the way it's going to be structured today is I'm going to have a little discussion with each of the panelists about who they are, where they came from, their background, how they got involved in the industry, and a little bit about the first 30 minutes of our little group. And then we're going to be asking the panelists submitted more questions for this panel than any other panel. And most of them were related to women's issues involved in entering and succeeding in the cannabis industry. So we're going to go through those, and the panelists on the panel, I did email you a Google Doc, and you can kind of see where they are, what they are, but they're nothing too complicated. And if we have time after that, we also have a bunch of specific questions laid out for each of the panelists that people were curious about. Stuff about the future of medical marijuana cards for Liz Valentine, and stuff about specifically, they want to know, Cindy Abbott, what your love is for cannabis. There's all these random questions, and we'll get to those. And if you want to look on your Google Doc, they're all there. But let's get started. So I'm just going to go in the order that's on my screen because it's easiest for me to remember that way. So let's start with Lilac. How you doing, Lilac? Yeah.
Hi. I'm good.
Yeah. So, Lilac, I think we've known each other since 2012.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So, Lilac, when did you start in this industry?
I am actually one of the originals. So I applied for the license in 2010, got 2 licenses, was on hold like everybody else in Arizona. And then we started growing in 12 and open in 13.
And what were you doing?
We were just 7 years celebrated.
Wow.
And before you were in the cannabis space in 2010, 11, 12, when it all started in Arizona, what were you doing before that?
So I'm born and raised in Israel. I moved here to Arizona 13 years ago, but before that, I was in New York City where I met my now husband. But I was always in the restaurant industry. So I worked in restaurants, bars, caterings, always food and beverage.
Excellent. So what are you currently doing in the cannabis space? I know you have a couple projects, a couple companies.
Yeah, so the Giving Tree is vertically integrated. So we grow, we extract, we wholesale, and we have a retail store, one retail store. Then we have a couple of brands, Kindred, which is a brand of capsules and breast strips. and it's more for the professional dose, accurate dosing. We actually see a lot of female users. And then we have catatonics, which is the professional user. So the highest high, clean, diamonds, THCA. And our capsule is the #1 seller in Arizona, and that is kind of the Giving Tree.
Excellent. And now you've also expanded to other states and other countries?
We did. So we have partnerships in Puerto Rico, Ohio, Arkansas, and Israel, of course.
And how many employees do you now oversee?
Giving Tree has 44 employees, 60% female.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. And is Kindred part, is that same one and the same there?
Yes, yeah. It's part of who we are. It's part of what we do with the 44 employees.
60% female.
Yes.
That's good. That's a fascinating statistic. Excellent. Now, what makes Kindred and Giving Tree, so unique? Everybody in the industry has tremendous respect for both those names. How did that happen? I mean, can you tell us a little bit about the development of both those brands?
I think it really starts with the culture. What we see that is different and I'm very proud of is really the culture and the people that work here. We're small enough to be able to focus on our passion and our whys and why we started it to continue to be what leads us. So focusing on well-being, on wellness, on creating a product that is clean, that we're proud of, that I will be proud of to give my mother, has been our leading light. Part of that is really finding people that believe in that are passionate about that want to give back to the community. So I think through the path, and anyone that has been in cannabis industry long enough know that it's not a straight line. It's definitely challenging at times, but we kept our truth. We kept to what we believe in, and we kept to doing things the right way. And I think even though it's more expensive or it takes longer, it is actually paying off.
I'm going to write down life lessons here. Be honest. That's good. We're going to go through all these at the end. That's a big life lesson there.
Your why, yeah.
Honesty is key. So Giving Tree, Kindred, you're on a great growth pattern. You started with 1-2 individuals back in 2012. You're at 44. Where do you see Kindred? Where do you see Giving Tree and going into the future? And is there anything special that you want to talk about in regards to Kindred or Giving Tree projects?
Yeah, sure. So we are actually moving our dispensary location in hopefully October, so probably November. So finally our retail store will be in a retail location, which will be, I think, a safer feel for a lot of women that come to our store. We see over 50%. I think we're very welcoming to women, but our industrial location has been an issue. So moving it would be something that I've been working on for a long time, and I'm very excited. And then we're going to expand. So we're going to expand our extraction facility to be able to keep up with the demand. We are at 60 stores currently, so over 50% of the market with our capsules, and it's been increasing month over month. And I don't know if you guys have seen, but my extraction team is amazing, but it's 4 people at 800 square feet. So there's no more ability to operate at the growth level. So we're gonna expand there. And then the way we kind of position ourselves is to create brands that people connect with. So I think for us, it will be to get to 4 or 5 brands that are different. They can cover different markets and be able to get that into the different Arizona market, Arizona stores, but also on a national level and international.
Well, we look forward to the success at MITA of Kindred. And I mean, we're hoping that, Kindred, like Anheuser-Busch being based in Colorado, Kindred is one day doing interstate and international commerce in the billions of dollars across the world and headquartered right here in Phoenix, Arizona, and bringing revenue and jobs for all Americans back to Phoenix. So
absolutely,
we're going to be doing a lot more in MITA over the years to support in any way that we can the growth of these companies. And Hyper's another one. We'll get to that in a second. But certainly Kindred could just, be gigantic. Do any of the panelists have any questions for Lilac about who she is and what she's doing before we jump to the next panelist? Feel free. Okay, we'll go on. Kim?
Pam Donner, here we come.
Okay, Pam. Pam, can you hit on mute? Sorry.
There we go.
After Pam, we'll go to Cindy. So you guys will be ready.
Pam, before we get started, should we show off? Dimitri and I both wore our High Point swag, so
Oh
we
yeah.
should show that off.
Yeah.
And then just a small thing for Lilac or Kindred and High Point. Okay, we're ready to go.
Yeah, another disclaimer. I'm gonna have to disclaim that I own Harvest stock way down at the bottom. But disclaimer, I wear
High Point.
Pam's jewelry. All the cool kids in the industry do. So
That's right.
so Pam, I know that you joined the industry in what year was it?
2015 by accident.
2000. And where did you come from before you were in the cannabis space?
My background is a businesswoman and operations person, and I did a lot of work in court-appointed receiverships. I started in the early 80s, and I've done probably 500 operating companies through court-appointed receivership work. And so I made the decision that I wanted to get into cannabis via my background. And so I was not appointed, but I was selected by a receiver out of California who asked me to be his senior project manager here when Uncle Herbs went into receivership.
Did you
And
say 500 companies?
500 receiverships, yeah.
500 receivers.
I'm like at 482, Dimitri. That's a lot, and you know that.
So in the last 5 years, I need to disclose, when Pam says jump, I always say, how high? And then I try, and I realize I can't jump that high. And then Pam says, what's wrong with you? So
Oh, good.
it's a long relationship, but I know who to listen to. So you were doing a receivership in cannabis, and then you got into cannabis?
So yeah, so basically I was brought in through the courts, and we managed Uncle Herbs and that's how receiverships work. We manage the property, preserve the asset while the parties go through whatever they're going through. And we don't get involved in any of that part. And then we work by court order. And when it's all over, we turn the business, we do what the court tells us. We turn the business back to the prevailing party. And in this case, Andrew Provencio was the prevailing party. And he had been the investor. And so he asked me to stay on because I had been running his company for 2 years. And I was pleased to stay on because I came to love the industry and Uncle Herbs, quite frankly.
So now you're working with, you have a company, High Point Jewelry, that specializes in cannabis jewelry. How does that work?
I do a lot of different things. So basically, I would describe our operation as a family office. And in our family office is Andrew is the founder, Glenn Murray, my husband, is a founder, I'm a co-founder. And so we have a lot of different brands. So we also oversee Green Hills Patient Center in Show Low, which is in receivership. So that's part of what we do. We have Untamed Herbs now, which is the medical marijuana dispensary in Payson. And for those of you who pray, say a little prayer because the fire is headed to Payson. And we have numerous employees whose homes are in the path of the fire. So it's a little rough up there right now, but anyway.
Has your dispensary been closed?
No. They're on Ready Set at like Sunflower and Jake's Corner, if you know that area, but the fire is going right up the Tonto Basin.
Okay.
So, and it's only 5% contained. So it's very frightening, and we're hoping for the best. So anyway, we have the dispensary. Then we're a major production facility as well. Uncle Herbs is probably one of the oldest lines of edibles in the state. And we were selected Best Edible 2019 by New Times. So we produce that line. We also produce a line of CBD called Desert AZ, which is an Arizona-based brand that looks like the vistas of Arizona. And we have a big CBD outpost right on Main Street in Payson. And that road has about 75,000 cars a day. And so we've got, if you go through Payson and look to your right, there's a beautiful log cabin office. Well, that's ours. And that's called the Payson General Store and CBD Outpost. So if you're up there hiking, stop in, because we have hiking and fishing supplies and maps, and we'll give you a bottle of cold water. And it's a great area, actually.
So your word is just going to be knowledge, just straight up, just know more than everybody else.
Well, Dimitri, I've been in the workforce for a long time. You know, Peggy and I are really seasoned and good at this. So,
yeah.
And you know, that's another thing I'd like to say to the other women in our group or out there. I've been in business a long time. I haven't been in cannabis that long compared to all the rest of you pioneers and secondary pioneers, but I'm willing to share any information or knowledge I have. I like to promote the women. I like to be there to train and learn and support. So if I can help, I'd be happy to. And then, you know, I'm very, very proud. My husband has High Point Jewelry, and he started out, it was Jennifer M. And what has happened is, first of all, the jewelry line is very high-end luxury line of jewelry. It's gold and diamonds. It's not base metals. It's a very special, thank you. It's a very special line of jewelry, and it's the only one like it in the world. And my husband has been a gemologist for 50 years. This is what he does, and this is what he knows. And so as it's rolled out, we've noticed that the cannabis industry, you all know, has taken a step up. It's become sophisticated. There's a lot of people that have entered the industry that appreciate and like nice things, jewelry being one of them. So we rebranded and took our jewelry line up to be called High Point Jewelry, and we think it fits what's going on in the industry. So we're very proud of it, and remember us when it comes time to do your shopping, because we have great products and we have something for everybody.
I like the name. You know, I lost one of these. They're $300, and then it's gold and silver, and
Right.
I actually went ahead and bought a second one. So we're very happy with this. I know the D'Angelos have the same one too.
Right. Yeah. Steve D'Angelo wears that same bracelet. Right.
Any questions for Pam?
No, I just want to give a shout out again from Lilac to Pam, these women bringing their experience today and being accessible to all of our attendees. So
Yeah,
great story.
If you can put your websites, your email addresses, so people can get in touch with you. And so we'll move on to Cindy now.
Can I do a
wait,
quick introduction with Cindy? Cindy, I have to say, when I first got my card many years ago, Holistic Center was my very favorite dispensary to go to.
Yay.
So you and your husband built such a wonderful business where everyone felt welcome, even new patients. So with that said, I'm going to let Dimitri do his thing.
Yeah, it's so. I wish I could just be totally casual, because I know so many of you so well over the last 8 years. And Cindy and I go back. She's one of the OGs of the Arizona cannabis industry. And we'll get to Peggy, who's an OG, which is a whole other story.
They're all OGs I hear, mostly.
So day one, you were in the cannabis industry. And let me tell you a real quick story. I didn't know much about cannabis. I was an economic development prosecutor guy. I knew what Nancy Reagan taught us in the 80s.
Right.
I really thought it was devil's weed. But it was through the patients and the employees and those individuals who used cannabis in a holistic, therapeutic manner, in a very disciplined, responsible way, that my entire world paradigm mindset got turned on its head. And you're one of the patients that I met, as well as one of the business owners and the original license holders, that helped me learn that. And I really greatly appreciate it. You and Michael Weiser, you know, God rest his soul, really helped me on that journey. And I think a lot of, I don't know, I wasn't really a fuddy-duddy, but we need to, you know, teach and educate. So,
So yeah, I go back. I knew with Lilac, we all kind of started together. We had our little group meetings monthly with, you know, I don't know how many other, not many. So we got lucky. We got the child that we wanted. It was the only one we put in for. We were up against, I want to say at least 14 others. And so we were very happy that we won that. We were excited about this industry. And for many reasons, I always thought it was a good product that I didn't use a lot of, to be honest, but I knew that it helped a lot of people that I knew, some with cancer, some with other illnesses. And then just as we were preparing to get everything open with us, I was having very strange symptoms of a sudden disease, which turned out to be MS. So I did become a very heavy, not heavy user, but an advocate for this plant, because when you get something as painful as muscle spasms and things like that, I don't like drugs. I can't take them. I'm allergic to them. So, I will use cannabis to help the spasms, and they'll take the pain away. And it's truly the only thing that works. So I really did become a true patient.
Well, and I thank you for the education that you gave me. You were one of the original license holders.
Yeah.
I remember the lottery. I remember my family was involved as well. Tell us about that experience. How did you guys decide to apply, and where were you when you won?
So we decided to apply just because we were super interested in everything about it, the business aspect, but also just being in the healthcare industry. And we thought, and Bill and I really have always been like, hey, we think this is great. Bill has always enjoyed cannabis. He has a lot of back pain and other issues, so it's always helped him a great deal. We also had 2 partners going into this, and we had a trip scheduled for Tahiti. We went to the Tahiti Islands, which was beautiful. And we knew that we weren't going to be here for when the lottery actually happened. So we were in Bora Bora, and our phone started going off, ringing like crazy that we won. So it was a nice place to be. It was beautiful. It was a great way to celebrate. Here we are in Bora Bora, and we won. So we were super happy about that.
And then the real work began. I remember that from my experience. What happened after you guys won? What were the challenges of opening
There's
up?
a lot of challenges. There's a ton of challenges. So, we had to find a location. And so we had to find a couple of locations. We needed to find the dispensary location, the area that we were in, if you remember right, and I don't want to talk negatively about anybody, but there were a lot of illegal dispensaries in all different areas. So when we won the license for Paradise Valley, the CHA, there was another person, there were people in there, and they did not want us to open. And they really fought us on opening. And because we were legitimate, we won, and they had to leave. But it was a lot of work, and it was, negatives, and it was kind of, oh, we might just put a church there if you go there, and we might do this or that. So it's just all these unnecessary games. We all know who won licenses, how hard we had to work to get there. We worked really hard to get there. So, it worked out. So it all worked out. We found our location. That took a while. Bill and I probably looked at or spoke to 100 at least people, and everyone was afraid. They're like, no, I'm not going to lease to a marijuana company. So we finally found a guy that was like cool with it. He was like, okay. And, it was the right square footage for Phoenix, which was 2,000 square feet. It was a little bit less than that, but it all worked out. We wanted to put together a really nice kind of private dispensary. So we had like kind of private areas where people could talk, because, it's personal. Some people come in and they really don't know. They've never used cannabis. They want help. They want to understand how to use it for their pain, whatever symptom. So, we felt the love. We hired great people from the start. Really, we really enjoyed it. And we met great people.
You developed an excellent reputation with patients and the community. I'll never forget how accessible you were to the media, which is very, very, very important. Transparency. Those illegal operators back in the day weren't, and that it's been very important to the success of this industry, the credibility that you guys bring. So what projects are you working on now? I heard you're getting back into the industry.
We are definitely getting back into it. So a couple of attorneys kind of approached us. So thank you. I think our reputation was pretty well known with the Holistic Center. And we love the industry. We just had the right opportunity at the right time to sell it to a Canadian company, but we do miss it. And so these attorneys came together, and they have investors, and they want us involved with opening some other dispensaries. So we're just kind of in the beginning process of that, looking at who's selling and where to go, and staying in Arizona. So yeah, we miss it.
Yeah, well, you and Bill are 2 of the original OGs, and it's been my pleasure to get to know you over the years. So I really do appreciate. I feel like we're grabbing you not out of retirement, but temporary retirement, transitioning, and bringing you back out into the public. So it's a great honor to be on this Zoom call with you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do any of the panelists have any questions for Cindy before we move on to Adriana? Anyone? Okay. just raise your hand or speak up or throw something at me, Pam. I know you're over there thinking about doing that. Adriana, are you unmuted?
Yes, I am.
So Adriana, you have become known as one of the premier patient specialists. I just sent you, and I can't disclose his name, a prominent Republican individual from Southern Arizona to help guide them through their exploration of medical marijuana for the first time. Where did your journey begin in cannabis?
So my journey first began in 2012. I became a patient. I suffer from chronic pain and other neurodeficits from a spinal cord injury. I was a competitive cheerleader and cheered at halftime, Citrus Bowl, Orange Bowl, all of that. And I thought I was going to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader one day. That was my big dream. And I also wanted to become a nurse, like my mom. So when I first entered into the cannabis industry, I was going to school for nursing. My passion is truly just helping people. And when I first became a patient in 2012, it was an extremely difficult journey because there weren't a lot of dispensaries, as Cindy had mentioned. It was very difficult to get any information on how to dose properly and what the different ways were to medicate and, how to make your own edibles because we couldn't buy them at the time. So my mom did an amazing job just searching on good old Google and learning how to make edibles and tinctures and how to really take care of myself. And I'm really proud to say I was able to come off all opioids and narcotics, morphine, fentanyl, Dilaudid, you name it. I was on all of that. And, everybody's journey with cannabis is very different. And that's something I like to share with people because not everybody can come off of all of those medications. But I was very fortunate enough to be able to transfer over to solely medical marijuana. And I just kind of took that passion and ran with it. And I was lucky enough to be offered a job in the industry. I had a lot of knowledge about the strains. I loved learning the lineage and just learning everything on my own. And in 2013, I helped open the downtown dispensary. And then a few years later, we opened D2 dispensary. And I just really worked my way up the ladder. I started out as a patient care consultant, worked at the front desk. I pre-rolled, I packaged the shatter. I mean, I've done pretty much everything you can do in this industry. And I'm really grateful for that experience. When we first opened, it was only 3 employees, myself and 2 other people. And then the 2 owners had full-time jobs and they would go back and forth helping us with the front desk. And we're now at almost 130 employees. So it's exciting to see the growth since 2013.
So you were employee number 3 of a company that has now 130.
Correct.
That kind of experience is unique in life, which is just incredible. And that the organic growth that you're kind of referring to, moving up, learning, moving up, learning, moving up, that's really impressive. And one of the most wonderful things about this cannabis industry that I see is individuals who recognize an opportunity like yourself and move forward. Which is fantastic. Just a quick note, please, if you could put your emails up there so that people can know how to get in touch with you, because a lot of people want to know, they're looking for mentors, they're looking for role models, they're looking for information. So what are you doing now with iLava? So you started as a employee number 3 doing everything from bud tending to whatever, and now you rise up to the top of iLava, the top of downtown. Tell us about your day-to-day, what your tasks are, if you have an official job title, and a little bit more about iLava in downtown.
So right now, my job title is Director of Compliance and Patient Education. So I'm focusing on ensuring that everything Arizona Department of Health Services has us doing is up to their standards, and leading us through our inspections and making sure in between the inspections that everything is running up to code. And then also getting to focus on my primary passion, patient education, and really getting to spend time with different people who, may not necessarily think of cannabis as a medicine, and changing that mindset and sharing with them what I've seen with other patients and what I've experienced myself. And, you know, I think for me right now, this is probably the happiest I've been in this, you know, career that I've had. And I really do enjoy getting to spend that one-on-one time. You know, if it wasn't this position, it would definitely be the patient care consulting. I really do enjoy getting to sit down with people and hear their stories and listen to what problems they're having and really understanding what different ways we can help them. You know, I think, for example, Kindred, the Giving Tree, there's suppositories. People don't realize that there's so many different ways to medicate, and it's amazing to me to get to open that door for somebody and to share with them that smoking and eating edibles are not the only ways for you to be able to relieve whatever ailment you suffer from.
Your word is definitely going to be compassion, and your word, Cindy, is perseverance. You know, that's a Cindy Abbott word, and your word's going to be compassion. We're going to write all these down and give them back to the public at the end. You know, this is great. There is an executive recruiter from LinkedIn on this call, and she's off limits, Ray, wherever you're at. She's happy at her job. So just a kind of a joke for him. We got all this feedback on that particular subject, but you're absolutely amazing. Kim, do you have any questions for Adriana?
No, I'm just loving the stories of how these women got into the industry and realizing that each one of them kind of made a conscious decision to change business or change the world or help patients. Even Pam, while she stumbled into it, she had a very specific function in what she wanted to achieve in the industry. So wonderful stories.
This is excellent. Any of the panelists have any questions for Adriana? Feel free to, you know, ask her about iLava or Downtown or any of her products or any of her. This is also an opportunity for you all to network with each other, because, like, you know, I don't know if Danielle knows Adriana or Adriana knows Parissa or Parissa knows Lilac, but it's a great vehicle. Well, we'll get to the group discussion later. Any questions for Adriana before we go on to Peggy?
I just have something to say to Adriana, and that is, I'm a very, I like brands, but I just have to tell you, iLava is one of my favorite brands. I think its efficacy speaks for itself. I think your packaging is beautiful. And so congratulations on the iLava. I think it's a great product.
I second that. I love the Delta 8 product. One of my absolute favorites. So good job. You guys are rocking it.
Thank you so much. I think just one thing I do want to mention, with iLava Touch, you know, we have many different iLava products. I went to Mo one day complaining of my neuropathy and not being able to find a topical to really reach my pain levels. And that's when we went to work creating iLava Touch, and it quickly became the #1 selling topical in Arizona, and we still currently are, according to BDS Analytics. But we really tried to address the concerns that I was having as a patient. My clothes were getting stained. I smelled like cannabis. People would come up to me in the store, and it was very embarrassing because the solve I was using had a very heavy scent. And again, it wasn't addressing the pain that I had. So it's neat to be able to have helped with suggesting, you know, something that has impacted so many people.
Excellent. And comments are good too, Pam. I really appreciate that. Now let's move on to, and your word, of course, is compassion. So we're going to move on to Peggy. How are you doing, Peggy? Oh, you're on mute, Peggy.
How's that? Good?
There we go.
That's excellent. Now, Peggy and I, a little disclaimer, we've had this like ongoing wrestling match intellectually for like 8 years now. So if we get a little personal, please just ignore us. Peggy, how are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about where you are and why you're over there?
Yeah. So I'm in Texas I've been being treated at MD Anderson here. I've had a relapse of acute myeloid leukemia, and I just had a bone marrow transplant. I think, what am I, 74 days old. So, and I had a donor. What was really amazing was during this whole COVID thing, they flew, my donor's Israeli, a 19-year-old Israeli girl. They flew the stem cells over from Israel during this whole thing, and couriers on both ends had to be quarantined for 14 days.
Wow, amazing.
So it's pretty extraordinary that I still got to go through this at this time.
Peggy, you are a winner. You always win. You will always be on top, and we'll be singing you happy birthday again at MITA here soon. But let's get into how you got into the industry, because you have a pretty unique background, and I know you're one of the OGs from the 2012. I call it, there's AL and BL. BL is before licensing, and AL is after licensing, sort of like BCAD. So
Right.
you're from like zero. You go way back. You're like the ancient Mesopotamia Egyptians here. So tell us your history.
Actually, I was involved in the so-called industry as my first career out of college, when it was about love, peace, and higher consciousness. And for me, making a difference in the world and how that affects people's lives has always been my passion in terms of that. So when I found myself in 2012, I think, sitting at a 280 seminar, it was really quite amazing, and life came full circle at that point. So I took an opportunity to start an infused product edible company at one of the dispensaries as a partner, and started my first company, which then spun off to Copia. And in that process, I changed partners and locations and developed. The only thing I haven't done is actually cook. But basically, we started creating. We had no idea really what we were doing, and we were trying to figure out formulas of how to infuse products. And at that time, it was prior to being able to use oil, so we were using keef. And we would get we would strain keef in a cement mixer, and then use the keef in our edibles. And I did deliveries. I did every part of everything, sales, deliveries, and so forth. And subsequently, we wound up trying to figure out, okay, what products would work, what products would be best for patients, what products made a difference for people. And what did people want? And that was a question I was constantly asking. And it was a frustrating time also, because in terms of dosing, things were being mislabeled and mispackaged in terms of what dosing was. And that was always a key thing for me, that the accuracy of dosage and how it was spoken about was correct. So we've evolved quite a bit since then. That was back in 2013 that I, got involved making that products in the first place. So we've evolved to 60 products over the course of time, between tinctures and baked goods and hard candies and syrups, and constantly looking for what was going to have the best effect. And it always interested me talking to scientists in terms of what we could really make that makes a difference for people, and the division of cannabinoids and so forth. And there's so much more to do. We're so still on the cutting edge of everything. We still don't know so much. And so it's still really exciting. And so recently, in the last year, we kept experimenting with things, and we wound up with our OG's gummies, which has
G's, G-E-E-Z. OG's.
OG's, yeah, our OG's gummy, which is very different from most other gummies, and has really become so popular. We had to convert our kitchen to primarily just making OG's gummies. So we've suspended making everything else at this point. The other thing that's become really exciting, we were also making some products for a couple of other people. And what it just happened, because I can't ever sit still, even when going through a bone marrow transplant. I've got to do something. So we just did a licensing deal with Kind, and I'm really excited to announce that we are now the licensee for Kind, and we're manufacturing and distributing and selling Kind.
Kind is one of the finest brands in Arizona. Congratulations.
So yeah, so we're really excited about it. This just happened in the last month, and we just started. And so while everybody was laying off people, we just hired people. So we just hired about 15 more people, and we're still hiring. And so we're still looking for people if anybody knows of anybody. We're looking, for skilled people and people to work, because we're doing Keef Cola, we're doing Kind cartridges, we're doing Chong's Choice, and so forth. And we just ramped up and launched in the last 2 weeks. We did this all in about probably the whole thing took a month to do. So it's been a whirlwind and crazy. And I'm over here in Houston. I've got this amazing team of people, that have, some I've worked with for years and some are brand new, and they've had my back, and it's just been incredible. And in addition to that, when I became ill originally in 17 with this, the whole cannabis community has been so amazingly supportive of me. They started Team Peggy. So there's Team Peggy t-shirts around and all that. And, it's made a huge difference in my healing. And cannabis in and of itself has made a huge difference in my healing. Because I've used it for years, but I never realized I was never sick. So it's extraordinary how it really has made a difference for how I feel. And what I've also found is when I first became ill in 16 or 17, I had to be really careful what I said to doctors and at the hospital. I had to hide it and so forth. Now, the whole attitude has changed. My doctors in Arizona have been, oh, I wish all my patients could have it. It makes such a difference. The doctors here are very supportive of it. My pharmacologist is from Denver and well-versed in it. So we've had some great conversations and even talked about working together on some things after this. So it's the education and growth that's occurred, which is amazing. And education is so important.
Well, thank you, Peggy. You are the brand master of Arizona. And one of the biggest opportunities that in the future of Arizona is going to be brands, migrating brands and evolving brands and stuff. So you're definitely a great person to know. So real quick, if I can let you choose your word. I'm listening. I hear courage. I hear momentum. I hear teamwork. So you got to pick one of those three.
Integrity.
Integrity. Okay.
Nice.
Well, you changed.
Nice.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Peggy? I mean, for Peggy, yes.
Well, again, Peggy, I think of all the women here, there's a tremendous amount of experience, but you're the true OG. So we love that your brand reflects that you are the OGs, the OG of OGs.
Yes. Any of the panelists have any questions or comments for Peggy before we move on to Liz Valentine and then Nicole from Harvest? Any other questions for Peggy?
Peggy, get home. When you coming home?
You will.
I am negotiating for July 3rd, which is
Negotiating.
I'm supposed to be here 100 days. So, but I leave it to the doctor, but I think I'll get home July 3rd.
It doesn't sound like you're leaving it to the doctor. It sounds like you're negotiating.
Well, I put it out in the universe. That's what I do with things. I put things out in the universe.
Right. There you go.
Next right action, and things happen that way.
And, you're a better businesswoman than I will ever be. I'll probably be living on your couch one day. Liz, that's okay. Let me live there.
I just want to say something real quick. And Peggy, I implore your courage. I mean, we had about an hour-long conversation the other day, and we were kind of just getting ready for this call. And she said, Danielle, should I wear my hair? How should I do this? And I said, you know what? Whichever way you do it, you'll be beautiful. But if you show that you are going through this right now, that gives so many other women courage to keep on fighting and to explore what other opportunities. So I'm so grateful that that's what you decided to do. So thank you.
Hey, thank you.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
also says a lot that Kind picked you to do their brand. That's
Well,
incredible.
you know, we have a very similar vision. So you know, we've worked, you know, we've known each other for a long time and worked well together, and it's a great brand. And
Yep.
I'm really proud.
We will come back to you. And of course, this is a work in progress, you know, this historical record, this virtual reality that we're living in. So I'm seeing as we're transitioning here that this is a great opportunity for y'all to get to know each other. But we might not have enough time to get to all the audience questions, and those will come next. But this is great. This is great. Let's go to Liz Valentine. Liz, you ready?
Okay.
So again, disclaimer, Liz and I have like 3 conversations going on in life: face-to-face, Facebook, and text messaging. And she is my friend. So I'm very biased. You're one of my favorite people. Liz, I know you're like an OG as well. Tell us where you came from and how you got involved in the cannabis space.
Thank you. So I started in 2009 in Denver. My husband was CEO, he's ex-husband now, sorry. I was a regional manager. We opened 3 dispensaries within 3 months before the moratorium hit. I was everybody's first position to train and teach everybody how we wanted to be as a collective. We collected 7 dispensaries under our belt before the 2 years, before I stepped down and started Green Star Doctors here in Arizona. I thought it was a time for me to spread my wings, and I did. So I was working 7 days a week and doing everything in the dispensary, and it was a lot of great information that I would take down to Arizona and open up week 1. When I opened up, this is a little short story of my beginning. Nobody knew that you could get your card yet. I was in Old Town handing out postcards. Hey, come get your card. And I looked like a freak because I was by myself. And come get your card. You can, get legal now. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, pass. We're open. We're ready. And nobody believed me. It was just like a foreign concept. And I would smell it. Everyone's out. I'm out at night trying to get my people to get legal. It didn't work. I mean, people slowly realized that it was a law, that it was legal. I wasn't just handing out weird cards. And, it was a tremendous change in my life. Working for the dispensary, that's a machine. You have to make everything right. And I have so much respect for all of the owners that do all the work. And then with the vertical license here, it's tremendous, the amount of work on your plates, and I have so much respect. But I had a lot of fun at Green Star, just telling the patients, how to purchase. Oh, well, we didn't have dispensaries for 2 years, so it was tragic to be apologizing every day. I don't know why the health department started you off with the dispensaries. I'm really sorry. We're fighting the governor at the time. And so
patients were getting their product from caregivers at that point.
Right. Everyone had their grow license, their legal rights to grow. So everyone had grow rights, and authorized to cultivate on every green card was amazing.
So Green Star was one of the first certification clinics in Arizona. Well, that was around what year, month? What year, month did Green Star open?
So applications began on 4/13/2011, and I showed up 4/20/2011. It was 1 week late. I was late.
4/20?
Yeah, it really was. That's my business license, my first one. And but I was in Denver. We were watching other states. I helped them get New Jersey, and we were just in a great position because I had been with a company that had 7. So I was sole purchaser. We had a lot of responsibilities, and so I came down here with a lot of good information for the patients, and I felt really good about explaining how to look for products, good products, but there were no products for 2 years. So I was always the person apologizing for the health department, apologizing why we had to even have cards. I had every argument in the book. I would crack the ice every day with the patients. Hey, you guys know you're all here for the same thing. I mean, I tried everything to always just make people more comfortable with the fact they would come in shaking. They would even know me and still come in shaking. So like people were just scared to get their card. And I was just, you know, doing the applications and one by one, just feeding the patients, hearing all their cries. And between all the different diagnoses and all the different things that I learned about medically and compassionately for the patients, it grew my concept of the industry. And I would always tell the caregivers, like, hey, don't fuck up my industry. Because I knew what, you know, they were capable of doing if they run amok. And so I'd say, listen, these are the rules, abide by them, you're gonna love them. That's, you know, that's your safety route. So I feel like I was a patient's advocate from the beginning, coming from experience and really caring about grandma and grandpa and the veterans, and just making all the other patients aware that these are people at the supermarket. You would never know that who you're standing in line with needs this medicine. And if you ask me, you know, if we, not if or when we do get adult use, you know, what will happen and how will we be perceived? Are we needed? And these are good questions. And I stand by the fact that newbies that are newly diagnosed, that don't know the culture, that don't have friends that smoke, that are not part of the cool thing that, you know, the culture has, are still needing medical advice. And seeing a doctor has an important weight to the people who are really sick, really, and newly sick, you know, people who are just understanding that this is a medicine. And I feel like that's what we were always trying to demonstrate as a easygoing, you know, patient-friendly, non-judgmental atmosphere at Green Star Doctors. That's what I've always stood for.
Now, are there 1 or 2 Green Star Doctor locations? I'm not familiar with how your operation works.
I'm just a little girl. I'm just one. I'm happy. Work 6 days a week, not 7. I'm so thankful for my staff, and you know, I just feel lucky.
So let me ask you this: there's other certification clinics that decided to expand and move beyond and go to other states and open up. What is it that made you decide to stay small and one store and stuff? And tell us a little bit about that experience.
The concept of going for money is really alluring if you have the right backing, staffing, everything. It takes a lot more work with brick and mortar. I think it's easier to carry brands across the states versus doctor's offices. It's such a small margin, so I don't know that it's the better route. I think I had a much richer, fuller experience meeting the people of the community and being part of. This is how I'm here. I hang out with everybody, from everyone to everyone, no matter who it is. I'm hanging out. If they want to smoke with me, I'm going to hang out. If they're a patient, and I want to hear what people have to say, and I'm truly interested in the patients and the development of our industry. And I don't know. I'm not. I drive myself in other ways, so.
No, no, that's great. You know, I'm putting down your word as the experience, but I'm putting in parentheses the experience, not experience, the experience. But and also, like Peggy was talking about the love, peace, consciousness aspect of the industry, and I think that a lot of people out there recognize that that's kind of disappearing and kind of going to the past. And even I, who wasn't from that part of the industry, have a nostalgic, romantic feel for that part of the industry. And I think you represent it really well. Any of the panelists have a question for or comment? Cindy? Cindy, you got to unmute. You got to unmute. You got to unmute.
Unmute.
You have to unmute your thing. There you go.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to say that we got our first cards from Liz, and it was a wonderful, absolutely beautiful experience. She was so kind and made us so comfortable. you know, we were all like, okay, we're getting our card first time. Whoa, yay. But, you know, she was so educational and helpful and kind. And so loved her since the moment I met her.
Thank you, Cindy.
Liz, and Teresa, you got your first card from Liz as well? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay. I was just saying, actually, my daughter, Yazzie, got her very first card at Green Star Doctors. So started the whole entire journey right with Liz. So
Well, at MITA, we look forward to working closer with you, Liz. And I'm telling, and you know, if you do the math with the 16% tax that they have on adult use, if your consumption is more than $1,000 a year, undoubtedly you should, just for economic reasons, pick up your medical card. You know, so there's going to be that incentive, and I think you're going into the adult use transition. Your business will still be very successful. Do you see things the same way, or?
I do think that people will eventually understand the difference between how to spend their money, and if they see that there's a savings in getting the card, they'll just automatically do it. Herb users are logical. They want to spend their money the wisest. They understand grams and math. They're mathematicians. We get no credit, but audits have a lot of math going on.
Well, Dimitri, I just want to make one comment. Again, I've known Liz for a long time, and she's a very quiet person. And one of the words that she brought up was overcoming fear. And I look at the panel, whether it's you, Liz, or Nicole, our next speaker, all of us had to overcome a certain amount of fear to push through, fear of what our family would think, fear of what our coworkers would think, fear of our what it would mean to our livelihoods. So I think overcoming fear, and I look at this group of powerful women, and it really encourages the attendees who are listening in to push through some of that fear and go for it, to be brave in the industry. So good job there, Liz.
And hopefully they can come meet you at an August. I think our August MITA gathering is, assuming this COVID thing goes away, going to be the biggest gathering in the history of MITA, which is going to be exciting. So thank you, Liz, again for
Thank you.
me out. Nicole Stanton from Harvest. It is such an honor to have you on our panel. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here. I've enjoyed hearing the stories of all the women.
You know, I thought you might enjoy it. I know you're one of the newer members of the industry, and you're a lawyer by trade. Would you tell us how your entry, your journey began into the cannabis space?
Sure. Well, if you had told me a little over a year ago that I would be sitting on a Zoom call talking about cannabis and being a lawyer for a cannabis company, I would have laughed in your face loudly. It was certainly not something that I intended to pursue. This opportunity came to me when I was at a place in my career after practicing law at a large firm for about 20 years. And I was looking for something to reinvigorate myself, to, re-stimulate myself intellectually. And the opportunity to become the general counsel of Harvest presented itself a little over a year ago to me. My anniversary date with Harvest is coming up in about 6 or 7 days. It's June 24th. Excuse me. I'm their general counsel, vice president, and corporate secretary. So I handle all of their legal work with the help of 7 other lawyers on my legal team. I, of course, being the corporate secretary, have to handle all of the work with our 6-person board. And I will say that being in the company that we are in on this Zoom call, and many of the people calling in, one of the first things that I told Steve White, our CEO, when I agreed to become the general counsel, was that I was going to incessantly nag him until he added a woman to the Harvest board. When I arrived there were 5 board members. They were all 5 men. We now have 1 female board member, and I was happy to be able to contribute to that effort. Thank you, Lilac. And I will keep pressing on until we diversify further. So again, my background is in law for 20 years. And I handle all sorts of legal matters for the company, you name it, from real estate to compliance issues. We're obviously a publicly traded company on the Canadian Stock Exchange and the OTC. So securities law, all of the things that come along with being a registered company. So no day is a dull moment. And one of the things that I love about it is that because we're in so many different states and because of our size here in Arizona, I feel like oftentimes, and I know many of the people who are panelists here today probably feel the same way. It feels like, I like to describe it as building the airplane while you're flying it. I feel like virtually every day we're doing something akin to that. And shockingly, I'm a very risk averse person. It's one of the reasons I went into law. And so again, if you had told me that I would find myself in this position, I would have thought you were crazy, because no day is predictable and there's a lot of uncertainty, but I love it. It has been very intellectually challenging for me, and I have a really excellent legal team that I work with. So.
And you're married to Congressman, former Mayor Greg Stanton, is that correct?
That is correct. And so as you and I were talking,
that transition, yeah.
Yeah, that transition, and obviously he and I have our own separate professional lives, but certainly one of the questions that I was asked a lot when I took this role was, aren't you afraid that that's going to hurt your husband's political career? And I was kind of like, you know what? It's probably going to help his political career, but in any event, he's always been very supportive of me professionally. I would never stop him from doing something he wanted to do, and the same is true him with me. But that certainly was a question that I received a lot, and I do think that, like many of the issues that he and I have been visible on publicly, like as I told you, we'll be on the right side of history on this particular issue, because I do believe that adult use will come to Arizona and the rest of the country.
You know, what's interesting is that it's kind of interesting to say, tell us a little bit more about Harvest. Like, anybody in this industry doesn't know Harvest now. It's kind of like that well known. But for those people on the call out there that don't know what Harvest is and how it works, if you could tell us a little bit more about Harvest.
Yeah, so.
And disclaimer, I have my little star thing here, so.
Understood. I don't know how it did today. Hopefully it's doing better. But Harvest is one of the larger multi-state operators. We're in around a dozen states, vertically integrated in several of those states, largest cannabis operator in Arizona. And so we do virtually everything, obviously, from growing it to retail. And so, you know, for me, my job, of course, handling the legal issues, they come up in all of those different places.
So you dot all the I's, cross all the T's of all those Harvest deals that we hear about.
Correct. Yes. And
I don't know how many people out there understand how important papering deals is in this industry, in any industry, in any part of life. So I mean, what you're learning and what you're doing is, I mean, it's the heart of Harvest. You're right at you're the lead of the heart of Harvest, which is incredible.
Well, I don't know if I'm the heart. I think sometimes I'm the brakes. I'm the governor. I'm the doctor of no. I get a lot of different titles, but I am the person that tries to keep everything compliant and running smoothly. And we're obviously a big operator, and I think sometimes the larger you become, the larger the target becomes on your back. And obviously we've moved into a lot of different states, and I think some of those states operate a little bit differently than Arizona does, and so we've definitely learned some tough lessons in various different places. I think as you and I were talking, or I was talking to someone else this week, it's interesting being in different states, and for those of you who are in different states, you will understand and probably agree with me on this, that one of the things I observed right away was that here, of course, we're regulated by Arizona Department of Health Services, and they come to things with a certain mindset, sort of that medical and health mindset. In other states, you're regulated by a Department of Commerce, or in New Jersey, I know a lot of their regulators, even though they're Department of Health, came from the gaming industry. And so their perspective and mindset by which they regulate you, being a highly regulated industry, is really different. And so that's one of the challenges that I really like, is that you know, for anybody out there, I would say who's listening, who's looking to sort of spice up their professional life. I mean, the challenges in this industry and the opportunities are, you know, they run side by side. Obviously, huge opportunity in the industry. There are some challenges, but I think the payoff is huge in terms of personal satisfaction and professional satisfaction.
You know, have you got any, actually had anybody say why, like be negative about, I mean, since you tell your friends and family and associates about your move into cannabis a year ago, have you confronted any negativity I mean, at this point?
It's not really negativity. I think it's more skepticism about, you know, I think certainly people want to know if I'm a cannabis user. I think that's one of the things that people are curious about. I do think that certainly, as you mentioned, Dimitri, I mean, I was a child, Nancy Reagan, 80s kid, and grew up with the just say no mantra. And so, you know, coming into the industry it's been an eye-opening experience for me. And I'm fortunate enough to hear lots of stories from people. One of the reasons why I'm so confident that ultimately cannabis will be legalized is because we're going about changing hearts and minds, one person, one family at a time, as people experience the benefits of cannabis to chronic illness, like Cindy was talking about. When people have a personal experience like that with someone they know that they work with or a family member, that's when people's hearts and minds get changed.
Well, I think the word for you is courage. Courage to take a chance and try something new. And Liz, I changed your word to love, because you're just all about the love. She's all about the love. Perfect. So, you know, Nicole, and I really appreciate you coming on here, because as a role model, as a leader, by being part of this panel, it indicates I'm here, I'm a successful woman, I'm going through the stages of my professional development. Some of us are starting a second, again, like Cindy, succeeded and coming back, but I'm willing to help teach, and the success is being able to teach and help others. So, you know, making yourself available to us today. I know how busy you are as a lawyer. We really greatly appreciate you being part of this panel. And does any on the panel have any questions for Nicole? All right.
Just one comment. Nicole, they give you a chance to re-stimulate intellectually. And that was exactly what it did for me as well. To be able to I was at the top of my career, but somewhat bored and I felt like I'd overcome all the challenges, and to be able to step into a new industry and have a whole new set of challenges and use my brain and use the intellectual part of my brain to really apply to instances that hadn't been addressed before. It was such an honor. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I feel that is really gratifying for us as women when we've had great careers, and to be able to pivot and use those smarts and apply them to brand new experiences. So re-stimulate intellectually was my buzzword.
Nicole, any last thoughts before we move on to Parisa?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned people reaching out to me and me mentoring them. I'm the one who needs mentored by the women on this call. I'm as I said, I'm not new to law. I've been doing that for 20 years, but I am new to cannabis, and so I appreciate the opportunity to meet all these amazing women, and I'm sure that I already know I'll be reaching out to a couple of them.
Well, and that's great. That makes me so happy, Nicole, because I know I'm going to be sleeping on Peggy or Pam's couch one day, and I'll be going to have lunch with you guys as well, wherever you go, because we do all this for free. Actually, Eco Pride and Smart and Safe did help out a lot, but you know, thank you very much for being here.
I'd love to talk to you if you are interested.
You guys can network on the side. Parisa, you're up. Parisa, another favorite of mine from what, 2015, 14, 16?
We go back a few years now.
When did your journey into the cannabis industry start?
Almost about 5 years ago now. So about 2015 seems about right. I got involved because of my daughter Yazzie. So my daughter Yazzie is a medical marijuana patient, and as mentioned, she got her first card from Liz at Green Star back when, you know, I didn't know anybody. I really didn't. We were new to Arizona. I'm a New Mexico native, and so I grew up there, graduated from New Mexico State with a marketing degree. And fast forward, you know, several years post me using cannabis in college to, you know, cope with my own PTSD as a single mother at the time of a child with a disability. My daughter Yazzie is actually visually impaired and has cerebral palsy as well. So I had a lot of my own challenges, and luckily at that time New Mexico was really progressive and they had a medical marijuana program. So I had already experienced the plant personally when we moved to Arizona, and Yazzie actually fell terribly ill because of a back surgery, and due to opiates, she developed a life-threatening condition called gastroparesis, which basically just means your stomach is paralyzed. And so my daughter gets all of her nutrition through this tube in her stomach. And I was just a desperate mom looking for something to relieve her chronic nausea, her chronic pain. And I had heard of cancer patients using this medicine, and I had experienced it with, you know, had my own experiences with it in the past in college, and I thought, well, why not? You know, I'm desperate at this point. And so luckily we took the plunge forward and we got the card, the first step with Liz, and it was, you know, much better than we had ever imagined. I thought it was going to be terrifying and it was going to be really hard to get it, but they were so understanding and compassionate about Yazzie's needs. And once I discovered that it was working so well for my daughter, I wanted to be part of the community. I wanted to meet other people like me that maybe shared the same views. And so I actually got involved with an organization first called Mom Force, and Kathy Inman brought me to a MITA event. And she brought me to Women Grow. And between those two organizations is where I really started to be able to network within the industry. And it was there that I decided that I was going to bring my professional skills to the industry and start a consulting agency, MJ Mama Consulting. We specialize in marketing and social media specifically. And back then I met Marvina Thomas, who is the founder of 420 Skincare. And the two of us were able to lead the Women Grow Phoenix market for several years very successfully. We were able to bring a lot of the community together and held some of the largest events out of the whole Women Grow community nationally. So we were able to provide jobs and just really had a great chemistry working together. So a few months ago, when the position for president for 420 Skincare came available, it was a really natural fit for me to accept the position and to help Marvina also relaunch her edible line. So we're really excited to be back in a dispensary and licensed, and, you know, excited to be helping her with rebranding and expanding both her luxury 420 Skincare as well as the edible line. So
What is 420 Skincare?
420 Skincare is a luxury topical line. We carry body butter, bath bombs, bath salts, soap, you name it, hand sanitizer, which is a hot topic still, you know, a hot item still, I think. So yes, all natural, organically sourced ingredients. So really specialized luxury skincare infused with CBD.
So where's your background from? I've always wondered if you're Hispanic and where you grew up and what your professional experience was prior to cannabis.
Yeah, so actually, my father is from Iran. I'm a Persian American. And so, but I grew up in New Mexico. And I just really fit into the New Mexico vibes, I guess. Everybody just assumed I was Hispanic because I was tan. And, you know, I got cussed out so many times for not knowing Spanish. So I had to learn a little, you know, mi amo Parisa, I can speak poquito nomás. But, you know, it was great growing up in New Mexico. The culture is beautiful and the food is divine. And, you know, anytime I can go back to New Mexico and visit my family, I do. So.
It's always a pleasure to have members of the industry come through MITA who have that first family connection. whose family members depend, like Cindy, I always talk about this, who depend on the cannabis, and it evolving into a well-tested, reliable drug that people can use responsibly. So it's a pleasure to have you on the panel. What projects are you focusing on next? What are your next plans for the future? Before we move on to Maxine.
Yeah, I think launching the edible line, the Oh My God Deity edible line is going to be our big exciting thing coming up here soon. Outside of that, we're looking for expansion. You know, we'd love to move into other markets nearby. So we have some big things in the works.
That's fantastic. So I lost my train of thought there for a second because I was thinking about Maxine about something. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. No, it's incredible. We really appreciate you being on the panel. Does anybody have any questions for Parisa? Or Parisa before? Oh, that's what it was. You are one of the most incredible social media marketing people that I know. That's what I was thinking. Sorry.
I agree, and I do have something to say. And that is congratulations on your new position with 420 Skincare. I also think that's a great brand. I love Marvina as well. And I think you guys are just going to kill it. So
thank you.
Congratulations.
That means a lot to me. It's such an honor to just be here, you know, virtually with all of you. So I've been listening to all of your stories and you're just all so amazing. I remember being new in the industry and just being in awe of all of you as I would walk into a room. And here I am being able to sit and share this opportunity with all of you. So I am very honored. I just wanted to say that to each of you. And I respect all of the hard work that you all are doing.
You know, you got me thinking here because we always have an issue with what brands are carried in what dispensaries, but we should make some sort of concerted effort or some sort of label or some sort of marker that we can put on Kindred and Bake Bros and 420 and Copia that says
Uncle Herbs.
Uncle Herbs. Well, yeah, Uncle Herbs.
Kindred.
Grown, produced locally in Arizona, stamp of approval that everybody can see in the dispensaries across Arizona. That says this is Ilava, sorry, Ilava up there, that this is an Arizona product. You know what I'm saying? Does that sound like a good idea? I don't know.
Sure.
Something, you know,
aren't they most all Arizona products?
Right? I was like, I don't know if we can carry any non-Arizona products here.
That doesn't really make sense.
But for example, right now they're produced, it's legally required to be produced here. But that's going to change with interstate commerce in like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And the IP coming from out of state as well. You know, there's something to be said about the IP and the credibility of being an Arizona organic brand.
Right. So, I agree. I mean, Keith Cola clearly came out of Colorado. Everybody knows that. So, you know, and it's a great brand. Ilava will always be Arizona based. High Point Jewelry will always be Arizona based. So I think you got some merit there, Dimitri.
Yeah, some sort of like home team stamp or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the biggest honor ever because Maxine to me is perhaps the most talented person that I've ever met. And she's never out there in the public. And Nicole, this is the reason why you're on the panel here right now. But check out this person over here. Maxine is the secret weapon. She's like the golden goose behind the scenes that creates magic. So, Maxine, with that introduction, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the industry and what you do?
Can everybody hear me? Sorry, I want to make sure I'm unmuted.
Yes.
Okay, great. No, thank you for that introduction. That was amazing. My name is Maxime. I've been in the industry for about 6 years now. So in 2014, I started with one of the oldest cannabis business consulting firms back then as a marketing coordinator, fresh out of college, didn't know what I wanted to do, got a job, and then slowly learned that I love the industry. Like everybody else on this panel has said, your one day is never the same. Everything is, ever changing, and you kind of have to have that flexibility to evolve with the industry and actually have the passion for it. And then, eventually I was with that company for a significant amount of time and worked my way up to eventually, being a good consultant for applications for licensing in multiple states. So, you know, in my 6 years, I guess, in the industry, I've participated in over 20 different states, you know, from Pennsylvania to Missouri to Ohio to Nevada, and so on and so forth, New Jersey as well. And so, you know, I've you know, kind of evolved with the industry on a national level and have, you know, a great blessing. And so you learn a lot with having to go from one state to another and having to be flexible and you know, learn the different state regulations and how each community within the state works, and to make sure that, you know, the people that are licensed, not that I have, you know, the say of who wins these licenses, but, you know, we've had the luxury of working with clients in the past, and we, you know, we're able to pick out clients, you know, and to ensure that, you know, whoever we do decide to work with really do have the passion to enter into the market for the right reasons, you know, and ultimately, you know, for the patients. And so I've been, you know, doing licensing and applications for the past 6 years, and then recently took a different position with another consulting company, CB Advisors, after, you know, the previous company was acquired by a different operator.
And why are licensing? This is what I get excited about. Why are licensing and applications so important in this industry, Arizona and nationwide?
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the states that, you know, people tend to gravitate to, meaning, you know, investors and business owners, are states with a capped amount of licenses, number of licenses the states are giving out. And so, for example, in Arizona, there are only 130 licenses in the entire state. You know, in Hawaii, there are only 8. And so it's different in every state. And in these markets where there are a limited number of licenses, you know, your market share is almost kind of guaranteed to a certain extent, right? And so it's not overly competitive and it's lucrative. And so you kind of see the returns that you don't necessarily see that quickly in other industries. And so making sure that, you know, you have the right team and you catch the opportunity to apply for one of these licenses is important. And so, you know, again, you know, I go back to the patients, and, you know, when I first started in the industry, I didn't know anything about marijuana, and I was a rule follower. Hence why I love the rules and regulations of each state's program. But I was a rule follower, and I, you know, followed the books, and I was like, marijuana is illegal, and, you know, that's what the government said. And then, you know, to obviously slowly learn that it's, you know, medicine, you know, and making sure that, you know, the people that we work with in this industry not only have the wherewithal to open the facilities that, you know, the government gives licenses to, but also, you know, have the passion for it, so it doesn't end up in litigation, or it doesn't end up, you know, not opening for years and years and years, which ultimately affects patient access. And so, yeah, I think that, you know, it comes full circle.
Well, you know, that's incredible. And where do you see the application opportunities being in Arizona in the future?
Well, I mean, there's going to be 2 sets of opportunities, right? So for those who don't know, when Governor Doug Ducey signed SB 1494, it legalized a set of laws that, you know, to expand the program. One of which we all know is the testing program for mandatory testing, and another was for priority licensing, meaning, you know, 2-3 years ago, the existing licensees were able to relocate their dispensaries, and a lot of them relocated into the more centrally located areas, into the Metro Phoenix area, which left a lot of the rural areas unserved. And so the government decided that they were going to open a second round of licensing, or I guess a third round of licensing for the medical market to, you know, bring dispensaries back into those areas. So that's your priority licensing opportunity, which was supposed to happen in April, but because of COVID and everything that has happened, it's been postponed. And then your other round of licensing opportunity to enter into the market is if the recreational initiative to legalize adult use marijuana in Arizona passes in November, then there will be a second wave of opportunity to apply for a license to cater to the adult use market.
We like to say when it passes in November. When smart and safe.
When. You're right.
But obviously, you know, and I get all excited about this because I know that, you know, licensing is everything. To begin working in a tax and regulated industry, you need a license. You know, whether it's limited or there's a tremendous number of them like in Oklahoma. It's still an expertise of dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Rules and regulations are everything. And you're like the most talented person that I know. You know, if I could like wave a magic wand and, you know, I could afford you, or I, you know, just, again, I'm going to be living on your couch too.
Right.
Well, let's get to the last three so we can get some of these questions, and we'll go speed through the
Do you
questions.
want to give keywords to
Oh, yeah.
Parisa
Yeah, no.
and then Maxine?
Yeah, I think I wrote down hope or joy for Parisa. I was like wavering between hope and joy because you're so happy all the time. And anyone can want to throw one out for Maxine. I'm working on it. It's gonna come to me. Has to come to me. Nico, let's go to Nico. Nico, tell us about yourself and how you got into this industry.
My name is Nico, but Dimitri calls me Nico sometimes. That's okay. I actually am vice president at Proven Media, which is founded by Kim, who's sitting right next to Dimitri. A little bit on a backstory on me. I grew up in Rhode Island. I ended up going to Brown in Providence, graduated in 2010 with a degree in history and literary arts. And it was kind of the, you know, the recession then. So did a lot of traveling, did a lot of working as an intern, at different, actually in PR, and ended up being in Arizona and kind of actually answered a Craigslist ad that Kim had put out. She needed someone to help in PR, and I really didn't know much about PR, but I was like, I know how to write and I'm gonna go for it. So that's how Kim and I met, and that was back in 2013. And very quickly we kind of pivoted due to Kim's kind of, you know, she's a bold businesswoman and had that intuitive, you know, understanding that, you know, cannabis is where it's at, and cannabis companies, probably more than most other companies, really need a communications team behind them to help with their messaging and help with their marketing. So we pivoted in 2014 to working in the cannabis space, and it's been really amazing to see how the industry has evolved. Obviously, it moves super fast, and I think in order to be successful in it, you have to be able to adapt and to pivot on a dime. So yeah, it's been a wild journey, but it's, as a lot of the other women here have said, it's, you know, that's kind of the appeal to it, of being in an emerging space. And I think one of the things that we try to do as a communications agency is really bring that integrity to all the communications efforts that are going out there, because, you know, there are still stigmas about the industry, and really making sure that, you know, we make it a professional space and really try to re-educate people on what cannabis is. I know personally, I grew up during the DARE era in high school and middle school. So you definitely kind of grow up thinking, oh no, like it's the gateway drug. And obviously, you know, here we are today, and, you know, on the brink of it possibly going rec in November. So yeah.
When we go rec in November.
When, sorry, Dimitri. Yeah.
When we got a roof for Smart Safe. You know what, Nico, I'm gonna just go ahead and give you the word adventure, because I know you personally, and that describes you to a T. You are an adventure seeker, so that's a perfect word. And a talent. Maxine, talent. That's the word for Maxine. Talent. So let's move on so we can get everybody to get some of these questions in. Sorry, it's changed up a little bit, but this is a great format because people are learning a lot about who's in the industry, these successful women, a little bit about you and how they can reach out to you. So it's working out pretty good. Karina or Danielle, which one wants to go next? Because the last two. Who wants to go next?
Go next, it's fine.
Karina. Can you hear me?
Karina.
Karina. Yes. I've been calling you Karina for years.
Okay.
How did you first come to be involved in the cannabis industry?
Through a really close friend. I was introduced to the industry back in late 2012. I was introduced to one of the first license holders in Arizona. He opened up his dispensary in 2013. I had a few meetings with him. And he, encouraged me that it was an evolving industry, that it was, full of opportunities. I said I was in the banking world back in the day. I said, okay, I'll go for it. Why not? I am an adventurer. I love challenges. So I just went for it. I quit my job. I started the industry in 2013.
What was your job before the industry?
I was working for Wells Fargo. I was doing banking. I was a banker in Wells Fargo since 2014. 2004 to all the way to 2013 when I quit and I started the industry.
And what were your, similar to Adriana, you're one of the first employees with that operation.
I was the first and only employee at Rainbow Collective. Very interesting. It was definitely deli style, no edibles, no tinctures, no nothing, just flour. I was under the impression that it was just flour, that, that's it, just flour, to walking into the industry and I see all these different strains. So it was definitely really interesting to see that. It's been just an amazing experience to see the industry evolve, to just going from flour to seeing edibles and all these other different products. So he had to sell his licenses. He sold it to, a different organization. I then started volunteering for MITA. I grew my connection base there. I ran across the owner of Swell, which is now Pure Leaf. I started working for them as an executive assistant. I learned a lot.
You're the executive assistant to the CEO of Swell.
Correct.
Which probably gave you a tremendous opportunity to learn a lot about the industry.
Yes, it did. Definitely. They were buying a bunch of licenses. I learned a lot about, buying licensing and real estate as well. So that just grew my knowledge, and I unfortunately had to let go of that job due to family matters. I didn't work for a full year. I moved back to Tucson. I'm from Tucson. Moved back to Tucson. I just focused on my family for a whole year, and then I was introduced to Peggy, which she's in this panel. Amazing human being. It was an honor to work for her. I did sales. She has an amazing edible line. I learned a lot. I've had really bad experiences with edibles. So I definitely learned a lot about microdosing and consuming the right dose. Then I transitioned to MITA. I did business development with MITA for a few years. I grew my network base working with MITA by networking and attending conferences, and now I'm with Hyper.
About how many conferences, et cetera, have you attended around the country, et cetera?
Hundreds.
And what are the benefits, and this is important for the people out there listening who are interested about the industry, what are the benefits of these conferences and these meetups? What are the benefits of them?
growing your connection base, you know, meeting great people, great opportunities, connections. I really have grown so much just by attending these conferences and learning so much from them in different, not just states, but, you know, at international level.
And where are you now?
I'm with Hyper now. I'm with Hyper. So Hyper is a software solution in the payment space. We integrate with cannabis businesses that facilitate payment, including plugins for businesses, you know, for their websites. We actually just made a few exciting announcements with Kaliba, Dutchie, and iHeartJane. We have partnered up with, you know, the biggest MSOs, and we have more, you know, a few more announcements, you know, in the pipeline.
I'm a little excited about and biased towards Hyper myself because where are you guys based?
In Arizona, in Scottsdale.
And where does your revenue come from? Around the world.
Around the nation.
Around the nation. I'm sorry.
Around the nation. Yes.
You know, which means Hyper's success is Arizona's success. And you being a local doing business development, the way I see Hyper as your company is, again, similar to Kindred or similar to Copia or similar to Harvest, having this organic, homegrown, you know, team that is going to be working interstate and internationally eventually, and bringing resources back here and employing people like yourself is such an important element of supporting Arizona cannabis and the industry. It's not just about the plant touching, it's about all the headquartered operations that we can get here. Where is Hyper headquartered again exactly?
Scottsdale.
How many employees do you have?
Between 40 and 50 employees.
Yeah, and you and I were talking previously about, you know, with COVID and the cashless stuff, the no touch cashless. What has happened with Hyper lately? Has there been a lot of activity?
Yeah, so we have a really cool feature right now that is, so the consumer no longer has to have that human interaction. They receive a URL text message on their phone, so they don't have to, you know, they can put in their passcode through their mobile device, you know, instead of putting it through their, you know, through the, you know, either dispensary, if it's going to be curbside or delivery, they can just do it, you know, from the comfort of their device, of their own device.
So that's pretty popular right now with COVID, is that?
Definitely, yes, it is. That's the new normal. So no one wants to have that, you know, human interaction, so we facilitate that.
So your journey led you from banking to being the first employee of a dispensary to networking across the nation to now being business development for an Arizona-based company.
Right. Yeah.
And where do you see the future taking you? What do you see on the horizon?
Oh man, right now I just, you know, I'm very passionate about Hyper. I just see myself here. I want to evolve where I am and just use my connections to, you know, to grow the company.
Well, we really want to focus MITA a lot more in 2021 on helping Arizona headquartered companies succeed nationwide. And while I'm not sure how to do that yet, I'll figure it out. So we'll get there.
Yes. And Karina, the reason I love your story is because, like you said, you went from basically deli style patient advocate to working for one of the most high profile tech companies in this space. And so it's a great journey. And I know that Hyper has quite a few female employees. So again, kudos to you for persevering and now being with one of the premier companies in Arizona, or in the country really, in the tech space. So Dimitri is going to have to assign you a word here.
Well, I'm thinking about the word.
Okay, thinking about the word.
Thinking about if anyone else can assign a word here. I'm just throwing these out because I'm feeling this, you know. And I hear Karina's story and the hope, but also the family aspect of it. And as soon as we go through Danielle, I do want to talk about family. The general themes and discussion has gone along with a lot of the questions people had listed out. But by putting your emails up there, that makes anybody happy that they can reach out to you directly and get answers to their questions if they had one specific for each of you. But any questions for Karina about Hyper? or her journey. All right.
Can I jump in on Danielle and then you go?
Okay, you go.
Okay, I was speaking with Danielle, and Danielle and I go way back in the industry. Literally, we were basically first day together almost. It seems like, and so I was talking to Danielle, and we were, just as we all do as collaborators, what should we talk about, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, the description for Danielle that I very strongly believe in is that Danielle has been the success behind so many companies. So whether it's a trade show company, whether it's a networking organization, whether it's a lobbying organization, whether it's a private brand, Danielle has helped through her whole career in cannabis, helped other companies be successful. So I want to give a huge shout out to Danielle for being that kind of quiet force that helps all of the rest of us succeed.
Right, and Danielle and I worked together since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did your journey in the cannabis start, and where did you come from before that?
Man, so, my background's mostly in health and fitness and building startup companies, whether it's through sales, marketing, throwing large scale events. So, the years had gone by, and I actually have a very dear friend of mine, Laura Franklin. A lot of you might know her. She does a lot of the beautiful graphic design for a lot of the cannabis logos and much more in Arizona. But she called me on the phone one day and she said, "Hey, what do you feel about getting into the cannabis industry?" And I was like, "Really? Like, okay, I'm not really sure." I mean, I would kind of remember in high school, but yeah, let's check it out. So she invited me to come and meet Dimitri. And, I was a little unsure at first, but I was like, hey, let's give this a try. They were putting together the Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo back in 2015. So, they kind of brought me in to more or less streamline the sales process and basically sell all the sponsorships and take care of all the vendors and amongst other things. But it was so much fun. And I mean, looking at this beautiful panel here, like I literally have a friendship and relationship with almost 90% of you guys. And a few of you that I don't, I hope to. So I've made some of my best friends in this industry. I've learned so much. Looking back the last 5 years, I cannot believe where I am today, where I started. With the cannabis expos, we produced over 9 different expos from coast to coast: Florida, California, Texas. After that, building some trade organizations, MITA, transitioning into the hemp industry. Working for campaigns, collecting money to have adult use recreation in Arizona. Sometimes I forget how many different hats I'm wearing, but I'm so thankful to, be in this position and have such great opportunities at a ground floor opportunity. A lot of my experience had been in network marketing, and not so much that I like that business model, but I love the fact of networking. And it's amazing how you can have your phone and somebody who does this, or somebody who does that, and you can hook up this person with that person. And so that's what I've always strived to be, is really just a really great networker. So if somebody needs somebody, like Peggy says, hey, I'm looking for somebody to come into my company, and I can say, well, I might have somebody for you. That's kind of what I've always strived to do, and bringing it into this industry has really kind of taken me to exactly where I want to be.
For those of you who, everybody on this call knows, Danielle and I are pretty close, and we've co-built MITA together and expos together over the years, traveled the world together. And both of us are pretty well networked, probably collected some 10 to 20,000 business cards together.
Oh, yeah.
And Danielle's, I got to give you so much credit, because what you taught me about, Danielle teaches me about business. See, now if I listen to Pam and Peggy and Danielle, I might have $1 in my pocket today, because Danielle always says, this person, you're putting person A together with person B, but you got to charge for that. That's business development. I'm like, oh, I'm like the jerk. Remember the jerk where he's like, it's a money game.
People love spending money. You just have to give them a reason to want to spend it.
Great help.
Speaking of receiverships,
Right.
I
And
I remember working with Danielle on the receivership with SWCC.
Oh boy.
That was great. You're the best.
Well,
I was gonna chime in and say, you know, the first person I met going through, I mean, we've all gone through many trials and tribulations in this wonderful industry, but yeah, the first company, you know, I think I got sued. I was 9 months pregnant and I got a lawsuit, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. But Pam was right there, and she's like, okay, come and work. We'll figure it out. And you know, it's been so fun and so, you know, memorable. And I can't wait to look back in the next 5 years and see where we're all at. I mean, that's what's really important is just the relationships that we've built and how far we've come. So super excited.
Yeah, this kind of should be like an advertisement for MITA, because the 12 of you and hundreds of other great industry professionals, you know, come once a month up until COVID to gather and chat and have wine and drink and discuss and learn and share and take, give and take information. So we look forward to having that back in August.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say something just really quick, Dimitri, too, is that I think that obviously from the outside, there's that, you know, cannabis is one of the most competitive spaces to get into, but obviously with this panel and just listening to the backstories, like there is a lot of, you know, collaboration that goes on, and that, you know, despite it being competitive industry, for those that are like thinking of getting involved, like it's such a big industry too, and there is a lot of opportunity out there, and there's a lot of people that are really willing to like mentor and like take people under their wing and give them, you know, a little bit of insight, because I don't know, I think a lot of us we have a passion for the plant and for wellness, and you know, that's what kind of makes this industry special.
Danielle, anything else you want to say? What's on the horizon for you next? What are you thinking?
No,
What's on?
I just wanted to thank you, Dimitri. I mean, this is an idea that I've always harnessed, was, you know, putting something together to have an all-female panel, you know, just to kind of tell our stories and get this information. So thank you for taking my advice and getting this together. So this is awesome. We look forward to doing many more of these.
You know, just the feeling, Danielle, of this panel, what I found from men in this industry is they're like, how can I get into this industry to be rich? How can I get into this industry to be first generation wealthy? With the feeling from the panel, you get the feeling of what can I accomplish and how can I help people? What can I achieve? You know, so it's just a different vibe. And maybe I'm crazy, and maybe I'm the only guy here, so nobody's going to challenge that. But
no, you know what, you hit the nail on the head. I feel like it's all about support. And you know, I've had conversations with, you know, 3 or 4 people before the panel, like, you're going to do great. This is awesome. You look good. It's all about bringing people up. It's not that competition, you know, who sells more, whose product's better. It's all about, we all are working towards a greater good, and we're all going to get there. So why not bring your friends, right?
yeah, that's good. Well, let me get into some of the questions, and some of the questions related specifically about the challenges that women confront in this industry. And maybe we can start with Pam and Lilac, and you know, just raise your hand and then kind of chime in.
Oh, Dimitri, I want to remind you we have 10 minutes, so we can make
No,
it.
we don't?
Yeah, power.
What?
We can make it speed
I didn't notice.
questions. Yeah.
Okay. So say you have a daughter that's looking to get into the industry, 18, 19, 21 years old, thinking about college. What advice would you give to a young woman who's looking to get into the cannabis space? Like, what would your thoughts, where would you direct her? Pam, do you want to go first? You always have, or Peggy?
Well, I'd say come talk to me.
That's a good answer. And who's next?
Yeah, because I mean, particularly right now, I'm hiring. So, but yeah, it's a great industry. I mean, it's and if you're passionate, that's what it's about. This is about. I'm passionate about this, you know. So it's not, as Danielle was saying, it's not about the money. You know, passion leads, money follows. And so if somebody wants to get into the industry, we're cutting edge. it's so huge, the places we can go and the talents we can foster and need. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
So who else is hiring?
I agree with that, but let me tell you what I think. And I've been sitting in the boardroom table for 30 years. I had success early. And so there's the grass ceiling, there's the glass ceiling, and it's there and it's real. And so women need to tell their story, but they have to know what their story is, and they have to be able to deliver their story. Because when there's opportunity, it presents, it happens fast. And you don't have time to sit back and think about, well, who am I, what do I want? You need to be ready to go.
Good
Get
advice.
your story ready.
Very good advice. I'm listening.
We'll get together later and you can tell my story.
Listen, I've been working at this a long time, and it's not easy. I was the first woman receiver in Los Angeles, California. And that's why I was so popular, is because I was unique. I had a story. And I don't have a college education, but I have so many years of education. And so you don't have to be that special. You have to know your story and deliver. And that's really what I would say to all of the, especially the young people. I wish I was younger. I wish I could do it again. I admire you all. And like I said, if I can help, call.
Cindy, do you want to comment on that? I mean, I know we've had conversations. I know how wise you are. Any advice you would have for young ladies out there?
Good question, because our daughter is actually involved, and her big thing is science. So she majored in chemistry, and she's in it, and she really is smart. So you have to have your goals. You have to know what you want to do going into it. What is your goal? Do you want to get into the software part of it? Do you want to get into the science part of it? Do you want to be in sales? Do you want to work with patients? What is your level of understanding and empathy? Because you're dealing with a lot of sick people. So I think this field isn't made for everybody. This isn't. So I think you know your daughter well enough, and you help guide them to figure out exactly what is your strength. Again, what is your goal?
And maybe Maxine, what would you tell the Maxine from 6 years ago? If you could talk to her, and she was thinking about cannabis industry, and she was afraid, or she was happy or excited. What advice would you give that Maxine from 6 years ago? Because you're too young to have a daughter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a daughter, but I can speak from the daughter's perspective, right? And I was actually asked this question not too long ago at MJ Biz Daily in Vegas during a panel in Minority for Women, and so the interesting part is, I get the same question over and over again about this. Like, how do you get to where you are? How do you make sure that you have the respect that you've earned in the industry? And it really starts with yourself, right? And so you're your biggest asset. If you want somebody to take you seriously, if you want that respect, you earn it, as cliche as it sounds. But you represent yourself in the way that you want to be taken. And so it goes back to your goals. What do you want? Do you want to be on the plant testing side? Do you want to be interacting with patients? If you don't know, throw yourself in there and try. You don't know until you try. So back then, when I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, I got the opportunity. I didn't know I wanted to be in this industry. I had the opportunity, fell in love with it, and worked really, really hard. And so, you invest in yourself. I got a lot of backlash coming from Malaysia and from a very conservative country, first generation here in America. And my mom used to tell my family, oh, she works at a clinic because, it's taboo back in Malaysia. And then, now she's so proud of me and where what I've done for the industry as a whole and what I've accomplished. That she tells people, yes, she's in the cannabis space, and cannabis is medicine, and so on and so forth. But it takes hard work and the right attitude and the right representation and goals in order for you to maintain your journey and continue to work really, really hard. That's
don't you get caned? Don't you get caned in Malaysia for smoking?
Yeah. If you are found with marijuana, yes.
All right, let's go to Lilac. Our Lilac, are you with us still? There, she's smiling. What advice would you have for? I mean, you're probably hiring too. What advice would you have for young ladies in the industry?
I think the most important thing to remember is that there are a lot of opportunities and you can find your way in, even if you're into the risk that comes with it and the crazy roller coaster, or you want more of an admin position. I think you can find your spot. I think it's important to remember that follow your dream job. Stop with the foot in the door, because you're not going to be happy, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of work to be promoted to where you want to be, and someone else might get your dream job on the way, and you're going to get frustrated. So go for your dream job. Know that it's hard work. Know that you're going to have to work a lot. There are no shortcuts. But know that it's fun and there are opportunities. And this is the first industry in a decade, and probably the only in our lifetime, that women have the opportunity to be equal. So just go for it.
Is anyone else hiring out there that I love is always, you guys are 130 people, you're still hiring. Anyone, Liz, are you hiring at Green Star right now?
Not right now, but maybe when we have events again, we can start back up.
Yeah, Premium Media is definitely hiring. If you know any good Marcom people, reach out to myself or NACO. We're all, it's super hard to find great talent. And Lilac and I were speaking about it earlier. Like, you better come into the industry prepared to work hard, and to overcome obstacles and to provide excellence to your team and your customers and your patients.
Marisa, you wanted to say something? You're on
I
mute.
was just gonna also mention that 420 Skincare and Medibles is looking for sales team, so you can definitely reach out to me as well.
Excellent. Well, MITA is a volunteer organization, so we really don't.
But we do encourage the women out there to get involved with MITA. I mean, the thing is MITA's opened so many doors. So many of us are connected through MITA. I want to give a personal shout out to Dimitri, because I think he's in all of our hearts. He puts his neck on the line.
Couches soon.
What's that?
On your couches soon.
Yeah, he's gonna be couch surfing at some point on all of our sofas. But again, huge shout out to MITA, and personally to Dimitri, who has he's got he's a yogi at heart, but he puts himself out there in a business sense for all of us every month. So thank you, Dimitri.
And I appreciate that. Seeing you guys smile is a wealth that I have, that I've created, that doesn't compare to any sort of riches anyone could ever offer anyone. I just made that up on the spot, but see, it comes. It just.
That's a good one.
Dimitri, do you want to talk about? Sorry, Peggy.
Well, we only have like 2 minutes left. So what I want to do,
July 9th. Don't forget.
Yeah, July 9th we have a testing leave. But what I want to do is start, and I'll go 1 hour 15 seconds. Just, I'm sorry this worked out differently, but it's totally great because people got to see and hear from you. This is on the website. People actually view these things to get to learn about Arizona and who's involved and stuff, which is pretty cool. So, and it's part of the historical record. So the way that I think we should finish this is that we should go 15 seconds, and I'll start with Pam, and then Cindy, then Adriana, then Peggy, then Nicole, then Maxine, then Nico, then Danielle, then Karina, then Liz, then Parisa, then Lilac. Remember your order.
Okay.
Remember who you're after. And 15 seconds, just say goodbye, say whatever you want, say hello, say,
So I'm hiring an inventory manager for Payson, Arizona. That's number 1. Number 2, thanks again for including me. It's an honor to be affiliated with you all. Thank you so much. And if I can help and participate, I'm here to support. And wear a leaf. Wear a leaf. That will start the conversation.
Cindy?
Wearing a leaf.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dimitri and Kim and Liz for bringing me on this. I thought, well, boy, I haven't been involved for a little while, but I love it. And I love seeing all you again. You're all very special people to me. I know I haven't met a couple of you, but I feel like we're all kindred. We're all kind of together. So thank you again, Dimitri.
Thank you. It's great to see you again, Cindy.
Great to see you.
I also am really extremely honored to be here with all of you wonderful ladies. I think there's about 6 of you that I've had really good working relationships with over the years, and just the passion and the drive that I see from a lot of you. You guys have been mentors to me, whether you know it or not, and I appreciate that. And going back to the hiring, I think Cindy really hit the nail on the head when she said you're dealing with patients who are in pain, who don't feel well. And that's something to really consider for the people who want to get into the retail part of the industry. You know, it can be a very challenging thing to have to help patients who may necessarily not be too nice because they are in pain and they may not realize they're taking it out on you. So that is something to consider. And how Maxime spoke about the different parts of the industry, I think it is really important to look at where you want to be and what you want to be doing.
Peggy, 15 seconds.
So thanks a lot, Dimitri. Thanks to all of you. I really miss you all. It's been so fun to be a part of this and not be isolated anymore. And everybody keep safe.
I think
There's a kiss for you, Peggy.
Agreed.
Team Peggy.
Nicole from Harvest.
Cool.
Just thank you, Dimitri, for including me. Today has been very inspirational for me to get to know. I didn't know any one of these folks coming into the meeting today. I'm fairly well chained to my desk, which now is my dining room table. So today was awesome to finally make some contacts, female contacts in the industry outside of my company. And as I said before, I just look forward to building on those relationships that we started today.
Nice.
Thank you, Nicole. Oh wait, Maxime, you're next.
Yeah.
My superhero.
No, you know, just like everybody else, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on this panel. You know, I know every single one of you. So, you know, it was nice to be able to touch base again with everybody. You know, some I've known for years since the infancy of my career, and some are new friends. So, you know, thank you again. And, you know, I look forward to hopefully meeting everybody again once, you know, it's safe.
Nico.
Yes, thank you again for having me, Dimitri. It's been a pleasure. It's also been great to reconnect with you all, even just virtually. And I think the only thing I just wanted to add really quick is that for those other young women out there that are interested in getting into the industry, it's an all-encompassing industry. So look first at like what you're good at, what your skills are, and you can most likely apply it to the cannabis space. And look to organizations like MITA, where you can network with other women and professionals in the industry. And you know, all of us have worked together in some, I feel like I've worked with most of you in some capacity or seen you at events. So there is a real community here, and, you know, all embracing.
And Danielle, one of the people that helped build this community, Danielle.
Yes, I was just gonna say, you know, thank you for all of you guys to participate. I'm kind of going back as Mita and Jade, but, you know, thank you so much to our sponsors. We could not do this without each and every one of you. And for all of you that have supported Mita throughout the years, I mean, it's truly because of you. That's why we're here. And we will continue to keep going and change with the times. You know, Jade and Mita we will get back in those events as soon as possible. I am chomping.
Dimitri, thank you for having me in this panel, and excuse my language. It's an honor to be around just full of these badasses right now. You know, if you guys have any questions, if you guys, you know, need any advice, please feel free to reach out. I think my information is on the screen.
Thank you. Good look at Hyper. Liz.
Sorry, my sign is backwards.
Yeah, we need black. Okay, go ahead.
We need Black presence. So
what does your sign say?
It says we do need Black presence, but it's backwards because the way the camera is.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Know that there's a lot of people in pain and suffering right now, and I feel like our community is really, really helpful to so many people, and I don't feel that we want to keep anyone out. And I feel like, I don't know, I want to speak for everybody. Like, we want to include everyone, and we want everyone's voices to be heard. And so if you are feeling like a minority, please just come to MITA and come and join us. We are not exclusive, we're inclusive. We want you to be there. We want you to have a voice. And all of us that fought to have our voices heard have been digging and digging in here for months and years. And not months, it's been years and years, but we are definitely a community that, like Team Peggy, I've had that shirt, me and Mackenzie were holding hands, you know, it's just, these are years that we built together, and that's why I feel like the welcome wagon, you know, people just come on in and don't feel weird if you don't see a Black person up here. I think that we would still invite you, come up, and there's so many people that need to be heard and seen, and don't feel like we're not caring for, it hurts me, and I feel terrible for the people who are suffering right now. And I feel that our group is a really caring group, and come and try us.
Teresa.
Yes, thank you, Liz. That was beautiful. I'd love to nominate Marvina Thomas, founder of 420 Skincare and Medibles, for next round 2. She is a amazing woman for the community to look at as a leader, and minority woman as well. So my last words are, if you want to get in the industry, don't wait, do it now. Start networking, even if it's from your phone. You can do so much on social media and coming to these type of events like MITA. And I'm an open book. So if you have questions about parenting and cannabis, if you need an influencer, if you need help with your social media, or if you want to become a 420 skincare distributor or join our sales force with our Medibles, then hit me up. Thank you.
Hi. All right. I'm the last one. So I do want to thank Dimitri and Kim for putting this together, and for MITA for all the work they are doing for our industry. And I just want to say, I know a lot of questions were not answered. A lot of people send their questions and we didn't get to it. So reach out to us. We're on this panel because we wanted to answer them. So all of us here are available at any time for any questions you might have. We're here for you. And we hope to see more and more women leading this industry.
And Lilac, let me close this by saying that that's exactly the point. Now you know, whoever's out there listening, whoever watches this, now you know 12 more individuals out there in this world who are willing to help, and you have an email, and you can email them and say, I saw you on a panel, and I have this question. I'm a woman who's looking at this, or I'm a man who's looking at this and this. So let me close by saying this. The words honesty, knowledge, perseverance, compassion, integrity, love, courage, joy, talent, adventure, hope. That's what we're going to leave here with. So thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dimitri. Great job.
Thank you, Dimitri. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody, good to see you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kim and Dimitri. You guys did great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you.